Hello, everybody, and welcome to the table. So let's travel back in time. Let's say 10, 15 years ago. Knives that were produced overseas tended to have a stigma that went with them. So the idea being that nothing produced in
China.
could possibly be any good, right? So it wasn't until some years later, and more recently, I guess you could say, that companies like Spyderco and Kershaw started to produce some really nice knives like the Spyderco Tenacious right here overseas. And we kind of realized, you know what, knives that are made in China are not necessarily going to be junk. It all depends on who makes them. And so what I have on the table right here is one of the Chinese OGs. So this is one of the original Chinese knife makers, and they really specialized in tactical style knives, as you can see. So this particular brand is called Enlan, but if you've ever heard of Ganzo, Sanrenmu, Enlan B, all of these were similar names for companies that produced really high quality folding knives, and these were some of the pioneers in China of making these folders that were actually pretty darn good for their time. So this particular model right here, I call this the ZT of China because it's super heavy duty and well built, very thick construction, but still a lot of thoughtful design went into the construction of this knife. So this particular one is the Enlan EL01. You can see the markings on the blade right there. And I actually purchased this knife 12 years ago to this day. I actually looked at my old emails. 12 years ago, I bought this knife. And so back then there was no AliExpress, there was no DHgate, so on and so forth. And so there were a few select sellers in China that made these knives and sold them to the US. And so I was curious, looking at this knife recently, if it's still available. And now while this knife I'm sure is long out of production, I went ahead and bought four more of them because they are still in stock and there are a few different color variants. So we'll check those out in just a minute. But take a look at what we have here. So this is a big, full-size folding knife in hand. Black coated blade right here. You can see the blade steel is clearly listed. And this is an 8CR13 MOV, which again, for 12 years ago, was pretty much standard on your overseas produced knives. Thick G10 scales right here. Black steel liners, as you can see. Simple one position pocket clip. It's not deep carry. It's not super goofy looking. It's just a basic pocket clip design. Nothing wrong with it. And it doesn't stand out in any particular way. But we're a liner lock, so we can see, look at the thickness of that liner. That's why I call this thing like the ZT of China, because it's just tough and thick and overbuilt. So the liner on this liner lock is super thick. I don't know if that's even coming across on camera. So it's a very robust folder. We have some nice jimping along the liners right here that your fingers can really dig into as you're holding the knife. And the blade, we have this black coating. And what's interesting, again, this knife I've had for years. You can check out like kind of it's like an interesting oxidation, I guess, on that black paint that's on there. I don't know if it's coming across on camera very well, but it's kind of like almost like a spotting. So you can kind of see that at that angle, an interesting spotting. And so it's just a basic paint essentially. I still have the original edge on here. It's kind of dull at this point because I've never touched it up at all. But nice little basic drop point design. Flipper tab makes it easy to flip. And so this runs on washers. We have just Teflon washers in there, which again, pretty standard for the time. Thick G10, steel on steel, very simple design, but also very robust. And so just for a quick size comparison, we can actually put it right next to this is a Spyderco Endura. So we can see our blade length is very similar. Let me pull out a ruler real quick here and we can see overall length for the Enlan here. Again, checking out the length. Let's see, get that on camera. So overall length, we're at about 8.5 inches. So this is a full size knife, in my opinion. 3 3/4 inch blade. If you're counting, looking right at the cutting edge, we're about 3 3/4 inches, 8.5 inches overall. So again, very nicely sized knife, and it's not super, super overweight. Let's go ahead and check out the weight too. I want to say it's a little over 5 ounces. So what we're getting here is, yeah, right on the money, 5.5 ounces. So 5.5 ounces. And it's interesting because even though the knife is so thick and overbuilt, you can see in the construction, they actually did some skeletonizing. You can see the holes milled out in the frame right there. There we go. And so that does, help lighten the knife a little bit over time. But it's just such a really cool design, and it's one of those ones that's gone by the wayside. And being curious to see if there were any more still available to buy after all these years, I went ahead and went to a website. It's called Xduct. And this is where I bought this one 12 years ago. And they still have these knives in stock, amazingly. And so it looks kind of like almost like a shady website at this point, but they're a good seller. It's just they don't sell much beyond pocket knives and random stuff like that. So this one here came in a pouch, and then we have 3 boxes. So check out the boxes that these come in. And like I was saying, B is one of the brands these knives are produced under. So this one was an Enlan. This one is a B, and I think these are all B. This one is Enlan right there. And the branding is totally random, but we can see from shelf wear, these boxes are not brand new. They're kind of dusty and gross and discolored looking. But these I purchased essentially brand new from China, and I haven't actually opened them yet. So this one right here is just an Enlan EL01. So let's check out this one. This one's an Enlan EL01B. So I think that means black, or we'll find out. So is this the same knife? Oh, this is the identical model. So I didn't realize I bought the same one. Huh. But you can see a definite difference in that black coating. 12 years of age and wear versus something brand new out of the box. I find that funny. I don't remember buying this one, so maybe they just sent me whatever they had on the shelf. So it is what it is. So black coating, brand new versus aged. Everything else looks the same. We can see the pivots on these ones. This one I've had to adjust quite a bit. It's kind of this unique shape, that triangle shape. So you have to use a special tool to open it up, or usually just a pair of pliers. Knives like this weren't really designed to be taken apart, adjusted, so on and so forth. So they use these weird fasteners at the pivot. Look cool, but it is what it is. So we have a blacked out model to go with my original here. So we have that one there. Let's put these off to the side. This one right here is the EL01AB. So what do we have? So again, it looks like a black G10, and we have a satin blade. So, oh yeah, check that out. Serrations. And so I saw the photo of this one online, and the serrations kind of look cool. They look kind of like scalloped serrations. And I know Kershaw uses kind of scalloped serrations on some of their knives. Maybe not quite the rounded scalloped type, but they're very close together, kind of a unique serration pattern. So pretty cool. We can see the pivot right there, same style pivot. Liners are almost shiny in comparison, and we can see just the difference there. Very cool. Pocket clip is also nice shiny satin. I'm not sure which one I'm preferring at this point. They both look really cool. They feel about the same in hand. G10 quality. Yeah, feels about the same. So no major differences there. Again, it's really just satin blade, black handle. So that's what we got on this one. Yeah, no play, feels good. Centering on all these models so far has been pretty nice. You can see right there. And for a knife on washers, having centered blades is a good sign of quality. So that's nice. So we have satin, we have blacked out blade. This one right here, EL01GY. So that, there's no bag on this one. But yeah, gray. So gray G10, pretty cool. And this one, we have a satin blade with no serration. So just a plain edge satin. Again, same bright satin liners. No play. Centering's a little off to the side on this one, but nothing really standing out crazy. Blade has some wipes on it. Again, interesting. So it could use a good wipe down, which is not a problem at all. Feels good. Lockup on these ones. Look at the lockup is a little bit earlier on this one. Let's check them all out, actually. So lockup on the blacked out model is full and complete. I know it's hard to see on the black models. Lockup on the serrated version is fully engaged. And this gray one is just a little bit, it's not early lockup really, and it still feels secure. But there's always going to be some variance with that. So very interesting to see. And so these are, so we have gray, black, satin. This one in the pouch, it didn't come in a box, came in a pouch. Is what it is. So let's go ahead and open it up. And this one, yeah, this was the wooden handled variant of the knife. So this feels, yeah, definitely has a different feel because that wood is comparatively smooth compared to G10. So satin blade. Check out the centering. This one looks like it has some oil on the blade. Yeah, plain edge satin. And yeah, you can see this sucker's brand new. There's oil still on the blade. Looks really nice. Feels good. What do we have here though? Looks like we have some cracks on the wood around the pivot. Could be as just, sign of the quality at the time. So it's some issues with wood handles like that. And honestly, this thing's been probably sitting in a box for the last 10 plus years. So things like that could easily happen in storage, moving around. Because again, these boxes and things were not exactly treated very well. But check out the difference in thickness here. Those wood handles can kind of have a nice swell to them. So if you appreciate the wooden look, I think this one's going to satisfy you. But if you're into absolute grip, the G10 is way grippier. But there's nothing wrong with this nice classic wooden look to the knife. It definitely, yeah, in the hand, the swells feel really nice. So that's really cool. So yeah, satin blade. We have our two satin bladed variants, our two blacked out, or our blacked out variant here, and then our serrated in the middle. So am I insane for buying all these knives? Yeah, probably so. But the thing is, these have been kind of inflation proof because these knives were about 10, 12 bucks back in 2012. And to this day, they're about 10, 12 bucks shipped to you direct from China. So I'll put a link to where I picked these up if these at all interest you. But if you're having a choice between, go buying an Ozark trail knife at Walmart versus something like this, I would say these are definitely heavier built and they feel higher quality in hand. Nothing wrong with the Ozark trail models, of course, but just a difference at a similar price point. So it is what it is. Really cool designs. I love sharing these ones. And I had no idea what I was going to be getting buying these from China, over 10 years later. But it is what I expected. They all are pretty uniform. The G10 feels good. Blades look nice and even. Little bit of a air on the wooden handles, but again, with wood that's been sitting that long, not terribly surprising. So tell me your thoughts. Do you remember this time period in pocket knives and pocket knife collecting? Do you remember Enlan, B, Ganzo, Sanrenmu? Some of those brands are still around today, of course, but B and Enlan seem to have gone away. I'm sure they're still making knives under different names, but this Enlan EL01, to me, again, this is the zero tolerance of Chinese knives. So hope you all have a nice day. Drop any comments below, and I will see you later.